AVF Consulting LLC. My website is avfconsults.com. I've come to the conclusion that if you're a programmer and you enjoy writing computer code, and your program is used by others, that if you can't support it anymore, then your program will die. So what I'd like to do here is teach enough folks how to understand the way I write macros in an application like OpenOffice, so that if I can no longer support this program, that others will be able to. So here goes. So what I'm focused on here is basic programming using OpenOffice Calc. So the first thing you have to do is load OpenOffice if you don't already have it loaded and you haven't already configured it. So this is what OpenOffice looks like when you configure it. And the way you get it is you go to your web browser. Mine is Safari. And you type in OpenOffice download, and it will take you to the official Apache OpenOffice website, and it will detect what kind of computer you're on. So if you were going in through a Microsoft Windows PC, then it would have an executable here that you could download and use. In my case, it's Mac OS X, and it's detected that I'm running 10.7, so that's what it uses. Or this is the version that it's using is 10.7, excuse me. And it will install the latest released version of OpenOffice, which is 4.1.15. So you click the download full installation, and after 2 or 3 minutes, or depending on how fast your internet connection is, it will have moved the download application into your download directory. So in your downloads directory, there will be an application called OpenOffice. You can OpenOffice install. You can click on it and it will install OpenOffice. So what's the next thing you do? After installing OpenOffice, you bring it up, you bring up a spreadsheet, and if you're on a PC, you would go to Tools, and there will be an extra menu at the bottom called Options, and when you click on it, you will be able to see what on a Mac I get to through Preferences. So the one thing I configure, or there's several things I configure. One is security. I click macro security, medium, and then up here, after choosing medium for security level, I choose trusted sources. And the reason is that the place where the macros will run is on, for me, I click add, and I added my desktop in my documents directory and on a couple of shares that I have for my local network. If you want to add more, you would click another. But this means that most applications that you might download end up in the download directory first. And if you double click on them there, the macros will not run because that's a security issue that you might have to deal with. So you then click OK, and the next thing I do is I go to Calcs, and under Calcs Views, and I turn off grid lines. Now, most of the time we're used to seeing a spreadsheet with grid lines, but I can add grid lines anytime I want, and I want a blank sheet to start working with if I'm writing computer code. So that's how I set up my default settings for OpenOffice. Okay, once we've done that, we've created this untitled document. Usually I make it a little smaller. I go to Views, Toolbars, and usually when you first load it, it will have two drawings turned off. I turn it on, and I create a button by choosing Basic Shapes, Button, and I'm going to create a button that I'm going to double click on and call it Hello World. And you can adjust the size of that button a little bit if it was too large. Okay, the next thing I do usually is I turn off the drawings toolbar, so it's now not there anymore. And I go to Tools, Macros, Organize Macros through OpenOffice Basic. And here under Untitled, I want to choose New, Module 1. Okay. So now we have a framework with which to write a piece of computer code. Now my subroutine, I'm going to call it Hello World. And it's going to have one line, and that line is MSG BOX message box, and in quotation marks, Hello World, maybe exclamation point, and then end quote. And then I type end sub. And now I've created my first application. We're going to save this, and I'm going to call this 1M for and LESSON ODS for MLesson1, and I'm going to save it on the desktop. Save. So we can see that it got saved right here. And now I'm going to take this button, I'm going to right mouse click on it and assign a macro to it. And the macro I'm going to assign is in our standard directory, Module 1, Hello World, assign, OK. So now when I click on this, it brings up this message box that says Hello World. So I've written my first program. I can save this, close it, quit OpenOffice, and double click on that document that I just created. Click the Hello World button, and I see that my program has been retained. So that's the end of my first lesson. I don't think it was tough. I hope you understood it, but everybody's got to start someplace. So hopefully this helps. Now, what's the next lesson we're going to do? Well, we're going to add on to this I'm going to take and put this in my program lesson directory. I'm going to right mouse click on it, and I'm going to select duplicate. So, and I'm going to change the name of this duplicate to MLesson and I'm going to take off the copy. .ods. So now we have a second lesson. So I'm going to open this. And we're going to add some features. This time we're going to take and place Hello World in a field, but so that we can, and we're going to open up our OpenOffice Basic environment. I'm going to choose, notice that under My Macros, if you tried to create a macro right then, it would put it in the standard directory of macros for you, but it wouldn't attach it to the lesson, the program that's called 2minilesson.ods. So we still have module 1. We're going to click Edit, and now this code is going to get added to here. And my objective here is to show you another feature of OpenOffice Basic, and that is when you choose macros. If you remember, we went to Macros, Organization, OpenOffice Basic, which got us this second window. Instead, I'm going to say record a macro. So the macro recording is shown right here, stop recording. So I'm going to click on 7, and I'm going to type Hello World in field A7. And then I'm going to click stop recording, and I'm going to call this second piece of code for being in a cell 7 Hello World. So C7HW. If we save this, we see that we recorded what went on here, so we can view what happened. Okay, so what happened is it set up, it dimensioned a couple of what are called objects. This is a document object and a dispatcher object, and then it said this component, meaning this program, current controller frame, which means this page, this sheet 1, is going to have Hello World placed in it. And so it goes to that cell. Okay, it goes to that cell. Okay, so basically this didn't put Hello World in the cell. It just jumped to cell A7. So you're looking at the fact that you can do many things without knowing how to write code if you can record what the computer is doing. So now we have to add to this that we want to insert that code someplace else. So we're going to, again, click on the program window. We're going to, again, select macro, record macro. And we're going to, okay, and now we're recording the macro, so we're going to jump to 7. We're going to copy what's in that field, and we're going to paste it in the next field, and then we're going to go back to the first field and we're going to delete it and enter a carriage return and then stop programming. And now we're going to call it WLK walk hello world. We save. And here's our walk hello world code. So let's see what it did. It still created the document in dispatcher. It went to A2, went to that cell, then it went to A7 and it copied what was in A7. Then it went to B7 and pasted what we had copied. And then it went back to A7 and cleared the content, and then it jumped down to the next cell. So if we take and run this code, I'm going to go here and copy, paste what's here, get rid of by pressing delete. So now we have what we had originally. We're going to create another button. We can do the buttons a number of different ways. One way is I right mouse click on the button and I copy it. And I'm going to put this second button, I'm going to paste it here. And what I'm going to do is, rather than call it Hello World, I'm going to call it Walk HW. So I'm going to walk HW from 7 to 8 to 7A to 7B. But to do that, I have to right mouse click and select the Assign Macro. And now, rather than the Hello World macro that was associated with the button, I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to add Walk Hello World. Assign, OK. Now when we click on this, it just walked the Hello World from 7A to 7B. I know this may seem like a lot, but using the record feature is the way you can learn by yourself new stuff. You can also learn by using the internet. So we're going to go to Safari, and we're going to type in Open Office macro to paste Open Office macro to paste text in a cell. Macro to open, copy, and special paste. So you can go to a place called Apache Open Office Forum, and you can actually be a registered user where you can enter questions. But in this case, if you're not logged in, you can just read what others have asked and how they have solved the question asked. So here's some computer code that would do And as you can see, they've used message box here. They can also put computer code in a smaller window so that you can select it. And I might point out here that many times you won't find the smallest, you won't find the most efficient way to do things by just doing a search like this. Or you'll have to search through 10 to 20, sometimes 30 different entries, because you'll have multiple entries here of how to copy and paste materials in. But the point is, this is a slow way of learning, because if you want to write few lines and you want to learn how the best way to do it is, sometimes doing a search, a browser search to find that best way will take a lot of time. So that's kind of why I'm doing this, and I've developed a very detailed application called MLesson1 that shows you how to totally automate something, which is what I do in a number of my applications. And when I say totally automate, what do I mean? Well, you can see that this still looks like a spreadsheet, right? It has a line here. If we want to view it as a total spreadsheet, we would have a text formatting line as well. This is what you might see in a standard Excel spreadsheet. You know, you'd have a line that has saving documents and filing documents and creating new documents. You'll have a line that is associated with what the text will look like in a cell. And then you'll have a formula line where a formula can be viewed as well. My whole point to this is I'm driving to a situation here of not just mini lessons, but what I have called Program Lessons ODS. I worked on it yesterday, and it has about 900 lines of code that show you basically the most efficient way to do many things. And that's what I'm driving at. But these mini lessons are meant not to intimidate you. So I hope this presentation has been informative. I hope I can get some people interested in just understanding how I write code, so that if I can no longer write this code, that somebody else will be able to do it and keep it up to date. I also have a number of applications that I've developed that you can play with, from games to understanding how to read binary code and all that stuff. So that's my presentation for the moment. Program Lessons is where I want to eventually get to, but I'll have probably 3 or 4 more of these mini lessons before we get to that point. Have a great day, and I hope this has been helpful.